I would like to show you today how to do a join as you go. There's many different ways that you can do it, and you can do it with pretty much any type of stitch that you like. This is a very simple one using a single crochet and a chain. So basically for your very first square you would do the join all around, and then you basically cut the yarn and then weave in the ends. I'm using a red so that you can see it easier. So you basically have a single crochet, skip one stitch, make a chain, single crochet in the next, skip one stitch and make a chain, single crochet, skip, chain, and so on and so forth until you get to the corner. This one doesn't actually work out correctly, so if I were to design this better, I would use a different combination, like maybe a single crochet, 2 chains, and skip 2 to the end. I would have to work it out mathematically, because what happened when I did it was that I ended up on the last stitch before the corner, and basically that would have meant that I would have had to make the chains around the corner without putting a single crochet into the corner. So basically what I've got is a single crochet, a chain, and then a single crochet right next to that single crochet without a space in between, if that makes any sense. In the corners you do a single crochet, 3 chains, and a single crochet. 3 chains I will explain just now. So that's your first square. For your second square, start as if you're just going to do the whole border in the same way and work around the first corner. Okay, once you've finished with the first corner, you want to pick up the first, or the square that you've done the border around already, and you want to place them wrong sides together. Okay, so that basically the right side is facing up on both squares. Now instead of using a chain on the row or on the side that you want to join, you're going to do a slip stitch. So you're going to insert your hook through the hole created by the chain and the skipped stitch, and slip stitch the 2 squares together, and you're going to do that for the remainder of the row. So now you're at the corner, and for the first row, so that you have a border, you're going to do chain 1, slip stitch, and then chain 1 again, and complete the corner with another single crochet. And then you're going to carry on in the normal manner, just single crochet, skip 1 chain until your square is completed. Okay, so now I have 4 squares that are almost entirely connected. If you look carefully, I joined the outside, well, I haven't joined that one yet because I haven't gotten there yet, but the 3 central chains that connect the 2 squares together, I've joined in the same manner all the time. So 1 chain, slip stitch around the 3 chains from the other square, and then another chain and single crochet into the corner. That you will basically only do on the outside edges of your blanket. Okay, so if this was your entire blanket, that's why they are joined. If you have 10 squares in a row and 12 squares, 10 squares in a row and 12 squares going up, you're basically just going to join on the outside edge for those 10 squares, and then all the 12 going up, and then on the 10 on the outside edge again. I hope that makes sense, because otherwise you can't do what I'm going to show you to do with this on the other squares. Basically, it's not difficult. It might be a little bit weird holding all the 4 squares, and obviously when you're working with an entire blanket, the whole thing is going to just get heavier and heavier as you join more and more squares. But you know, what do you want to do? That's just how, otherwise you can't join the blanket. So you're going to start again with a chain, and then you're going to insert your hook through all the three chain loops. Make sure that you do it the same way always. Okay, you can either insert the hook from below, or you can insert it from above, but it gives a neater finish if you do it all from the same side. Okay, so don't do what I've just done, where you insert from the top in one, then from the bottom, and then back through the top or through the bottom or whatever. Make sure that you either always insert through the bottom or always through the top. Okay, logically it would be through the bottom though, because you do the same when you insert through the chain one spaces on the other squares. Okay, then you do a slip stitch. Just make sure that it's not too much yarn left over there. One more chain, and then single crochet into the corner, and then you complete the square as normal. I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. So here it is, finished, well, joined. It does have a bit of a ridge at the moment, but you can see that you can stretch it out quite a bit, and then the ridge disappears. So I think this type of join probably works better for thicker weight yarn. This is sock weight, and I didn't actually tell you which yarn I used for my Greg Mystery Cal, which this is part of. But this is these squares were from the first time that I tried it, and then when I did the second square, they were much larger than these ones, and so I just remade the first square again using a larger hook, because I really battled with the tension of those squares when I first started. But it's a sock yarn. This light color is Shepshes Wool Invicta, and the 3 darker colors that I have are Regia sock yarn 4-ply. This red is online. Trend collection line 2 super sock silk. It's got wool, acrylic or polyamide, and 20% silk in it. They are so nice. I made socks with those, and they're really nice and soft because of the silk. Yeah, so basically I think that this type of join probably lies flatter, either the bigger your blanket is, or with a blanket with made with a heavier weight yarn, because sock weight yarn obviously is quite thin and not so very heavy, so it doesn't pull as much as a, say, DK or worsted weight or whatever yarn, a blanket. With my the cathedral window throw that I showed you earlier is also a join as you go, and that basically pulls itself out as you join the squares, because it's a DK weight and it's just that much heavier. It's the same with the Shepshes wool blanket that I made, the succulent cowl. Also, I didn't block the border or the joins. I only blocked the squares, and it lies completely flat. But as I said earlier, that might also be because I used the reverse single crochet, and that tends to lie towards the back anyway, rather than this lies towards the front of the stitch. So you do have a little ridge here. You might try blocking it out if you do this type of join, and I mean, it's going to be heavy, but just wet the blankets and then lay it out on a bed or on the floor somewhere if you have space to do that, to just stretch the join out a little bit. Might also be because this is slightly different yarn to the actual square that it's also doing this. But if you want a completely flat join, I will show you how to do that now. I actually really like it. One last thing about this is also the more chains you have between the stitches. So this is now 1 SE, 1 chain, right? If you do, for example, 1 SE and 3 chains in each of these ones along the row, and then chain 5 in the corner, I tend to always do 2 more in the corner than I do along the side. Then it will automatically also spread out more. Okay, so you might want to try that as well if you want a flat join, but do this type of join as you go, because the join that I'm going to show you now is only slip stitch. It doesn't add any more width or length to your blanket whatsoever, but it is pretty much completely flat. Okay, so you're going to again work with your yarn with your squares with the wrong sides facing, so right sides facing outwards, and then you can start this in the, I think this one has 2 chains, and then is it 1? It's just 1. Okay, so you need to just insert your hook through the inside loops, basically always through the back loop of the stitch. Okay, that's your first step. You don't do anything else. If you're right-handed, you're going to start, no, basically you do exactly the same thing. You insert your you would insert your hook through the far back loop first, and then through the near back loop. I guess you could do it either way. It doesn't really matter, because you could alternate as well. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so then where's the beginning? Then you pick up your yarn. You don't really do anything with it. Just leave a good tail, because otherwise it might slip out. Okay. Yarn over, and you pull through the 2 loops. Now, yeah, like I said, the beginning bit is a bit tricky with the yarn end because it might slip out. You just continue doing this now, okay? But you have to be careful to always keep the yarn underneath. It's not like you normally crochet where your yarn is on top, okay? It always has to be between the 2 squares, basically. Okay, so you insert your hook through the back loops again, pick up the yarn, and now go through all 3 loops, so the 2 back loops and the loop that you had on your hook. And again through the 1 back loop, through the other back loop, through the 2 back loops, and then through that. And you basically do that all the way across, and you can do this over a whole row of squares. So in this case you wouldn't work around one square and then join the other square and join the next square and join the next square and so on. You would basically join rows along one of the rows. So you would, once you've finished with this row, with these two squares, sorry, you would attach two more squares next to it. I'll show you what I mean when I get there. Okay, so this is, oopsie. And as you can see, it forms this really nice, almost, well, knit stitch, slip stitch. Looks kind of like knit stitch, doesn't it? Join. And it's especially pretty if you have it in a different color, like I've got it here. Well, I mean, joins in different colors, in contrasting colors, are always quite nice, aren't they? Something, missed a stitch. Right, so that's two squares joined, and it's beautifully flat on this side, and you can just see the seam on the inside. If you want to join some more squares, you simply carry on. Oh, don't forget to put the yarn between the squares. I'm just going to finish this and I'll be back. So that's what it looks like. Obviously you need to do those seams now, and as I was doing this I was thinking it would be really nice if you could just leave it and not even have a border around squares using this seam. The problem would obviously be to weave in the end with this if you had if you are using a contrasting yarn, because yeah, to get a neat seam woven in with that much to work with is not all that easy. So maybe just a very simple single crochet or double crochet border so that you can weave the ends in. Obviously, if you're doing this row for row, joining two squares at a time and then building it up so that you have an entire row of, say, 10 or 12 squares or whatever joined, you would only have, unless you run out of yarn, 2 yarn ends to weave in, the one from the beginning and the one from the end. So it wouldn't be that much weaving in of ends per row, whereas here, obviously, unless you do it continuous, completely continuous, where you don't break the yarn off per square, you obviously have quite a bit more ends to weave in. So now I'm going to show you what it looks like if you alternate working through from the square behind and the square in front. So I just did a picking up the back loop of the back square first, and then picking up the back loop of the front square. And if you can see what I'm doing, I don't know how clear it is. If you ever have problems picking up or getting your hook through the loops because you're making amigurumi and it's too tight, or because you only need to pick up the one loop instead of both, and you keep slipping through both loops even though you're supposed to only go through the back loop or the front loop or whatever. The crochet hook has a very handy hook on it. So normally you would use the tip to insert through the stitch, but if you are battling, just turn the hook the other way around and use the crook of the hook to insert your hook through. Okay, so in this case we're going from the top and then again from the top, but like it's much easier just to use the crook now than to try and, you know, maneuver and get the tip through. So just use the crook section of the hook to hook the yarn on. Okay, so now I'm finished with the joining of the first two squares, and I'm at the middle here, as you can see. So you can either just do a chain to jump over the middle, which is what I would do, or I guess you could slip stitch through. That makes more sense, because then you've got it actually joined to the fabric, and then you just carry on until you're finished. So I'll show you what this looks like when it's done. So there you go, that's what it looks like when it's done. I just did a little slip stitch piece on that side to see what it would look like with a slip stitch border, and I quite like that. It's cute. Also gives a nice little interesting detail on the other side. Yeah, having a look here, I don't know if you can see that, but this is the one where I alternated between inserting the hook through the back square first, and then through the front, and then from the front through to the back. It doesn't make much of a difference. In fact, I think that this one is neater, where here I've just went through the back square first and then through the front square all the time, like I did on this row. So yeah, so this is a nice join that sits. Look, it's not 100% flat, because it's you're adding another dimension to the fabric, so it is not flush 100% with the rest of the square, but it definitely has less of a ridge than this join. So if you are looking for something very simple, with where the squares lie flat, with not too much of a ridge, or with a flat ridge, if you can call it that, then this is the join for you. Also, very interestingly, or yeah, might be of interest to those of you who also knit, is that this is a really awesome join for knitting, because it looks like knitting, and like when you cast off, if you're making a square from, because I think you can make squares from the inside to the outside. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But then you would also have the same 4 edges as you do with the crochet. And I mean, a knitted bind off, if it's just a simple bind off without picots or anything fancy, does look the same with the 2 loops. So you basically could do this on knitted squares as well, or if you have a blanket where you have knitted and crocheted squares, this would be the perfect join for that, because if they're all knit in the round, they will have 4 sides that are equal, with the 2 loops per stitch. That you can then use this technique for. So I hope you found this helpful, just to show them, oopsie daisy, to you together. Excuse all the ends. That's what it looks like. So yeah, that's basically it from me now. Sorry about all the interruptions, but yeah, my batteries were going a little flat, but I guess that's life, hey? I'm filming just very quickly on a GoPro, in case you're wondering, and I have the GoPro app on my phone, which only works, I think it only works from the Hero 4 onwards, and I have a mic attached to the camera, so I hope that the sound is good. And you can basically control the GoPro with the app from the phone, which means that you can see what you're filming on your phone. So I know exactly where the placement is. So my phone is basically over there. Yeah, you can see it a little in the frame actually. Now it's gone. So yeah, and you can stop and start the camera from the phone, so you don't always have to get up to turn it off. So basically I'm going to push the button over there, and then the camera is off. So yeah, that's basically, just in case you were wondering. But I'm seriously going to go now, so I will see you when I see you. Have a good week and take care. Bye bye.